Welcome. We are live for the second to last time.
I thought our last time would be Saturday night, so what has happened? Are you leaving the island on Saturday?
Oh, I thought today was Friday.
No, today's Thursday.
Oh, no.
So
maybe we have 2 more episodes.
Well, 3 if you count tonight. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay. Well, this is actually good. You can tell I don't know what the heck's going on. But the final episode will be on Saturday because you have decided to fly out, risk your life and the life of everyone you love.
Yeah.
On Sunday to fly back to the States. We'll get into that in just one second. But I was thinking for the final episode, it could be really interesting to look back at some of the stuff that we've talked about and were right about, wrong about, was hilarious, was serious, just the highlights.
How would we even compile the highlights? Because it's hours and hours, it's days
of footage. I tried to find a specific clip today to use to mock you with.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I'm losing my voice or something, doesn't it? What's going on? Uh-oh, I got the Rona. the Rona's coming. But I couldn't find it because, I think today is the 90th episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I couldn't find it. But I thought with the power of our fans, they probably, everyone combined, they probably remember where some of their favorite parts are. They can find the stuff. So...
you're going to crowdsource this?
I'm going to crowdsource this. So anybody who wants to help, I want to make sure 100% that my email that I created is correct. I believe it's fstopperslive@gmail.com, but I just want to double check that. But what I want you guys to do is find your favorite clips and email this email that I'm going to give you in just one second, and with a timestamp and just a quick sentence of why you think it should be in the final episode. And I just want a range of interesting and hilarious stuff that we can put in the final episode on Saturday. We'll try to have other news as well, but I think it'll be interesting to see what we had to talk about 90 days ago and how our minds may have changed and how we were super right or super wrong. Who knows? Yeah, it's fstopperslive@gmail.com. And we will try to compile your best clips that you guys think are noteworthy into the final episode on Saturday.
So, I think the most obvious question is, why are we ending this? We are so close to 100 episodes. Have we told everybody what's happening?
Well, I think everyone knows that you're a hypocrite, but I need to really paint the full picture of your hypocrisy for everyone right now.
I don't know what my hypocrisy is. I'm I want to see my parents. I haven't seen them in a long time, but I want to quarantine for 14 days before I see them. And so I'm going to fly from Puerto Rico to Orlando, which I feel like is the riskiest thing. And I'm not going to connect. I'm not going to go to Atlanta and then to Charleston. I'm going to go to Orlando, one flight, get a rental car, drive up so that I minimize my impact, my involvement with people, and then quarantine. But the problem is you are going to kind of ruin my plan of quarantining.
Yeah, by following the plan that we've had for weeks now.
I don't know what your plan is. Your plan seems to change. If you did the right, you said you were going to go to Disney World or something the very end of the month. And if you did that, then we would probably pass each other without seeing each other, and I would see my parents on July 1st or 2nd and never see you because you would still be in Florida. But it sounds like you've changed your plan and you're now leaving sooner.
Well, I always wanted to leave sooner. The reason why we were postponing it was because Kristen said she wanted to go, but she had some homework she had to do, so push it one more week.
Yeah,
and I said,
she still has that homework to do.
We'll push it for you.
She flies and gets to Charleston, she still has to she just didn't want to take a few days off and go to a park when she has grad school work.
Well, let me point out the hypocrisy since you seem to have trouble finding it. And this is where I need your help, everyone, because we literally spoke about this one heated night where you and I were arguing, and you were saying that I was selfish and dangerous for, I don't even know what I was doing. Maybe I was like
rolling around with other men.
I was saying that I wanted to do jujitsu with like 2 of my buddies or something, or I don't know if there was something else I wanted to do, like play golf with someone. I'm not sure. But I started going down the road of, okay, well, when does this end for you? When are you actually going to get sick of this and want to leave the house? And you were like, I mean, I'll leave the house when it's safe outside and all this. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and warn you that for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I want to see my family. And maybe you don't care to see your family and you're just going to stay in Puerto Rico for the next year, but I'm leaving and I'm going to go see my family. And you were like, I'm not going to do that. If it's not safe, I'm not going to do that. But, and I remember you saying this, and somebody find this clip so we can play it on Saturday, you were like, I think that we'll have a handle on things by December or, November, so it'll be safe for me to see my family then anyway.
Yeah.
But as I predicted, you want to see your family now. You don't want to wait until Christmas. You want to see them now. So you have jumped through your mental hula hoops and you're like, Universal, which we were all going to do, is too dangerous. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to fly to see my family.
I don't feel like it's too dangerous.
It's not too dangerous.
No, I would go to Universal. I don't feel like it's that crowded, and I feel like they're going to have things in place. They're going to wipe down everything. I just feel like if I go to Universal, I can't legitimately quarantine for 14 days before the 4th of July.
But the 14 days is blown up now, too. I mean, they're saying that it could be 30 days.
It's a good indicator. It's like,
I agree.
5 days is probably too short. 20 days might be more conservative and better, but 14 days seems reasonable. My parents are also still practicing dentistry, so they're in a higher risk job, but they're in a town that has very little cases at the moment. Although Alabama and South Carolina and Florida, all of the states we're talking about right now, I mean, if you go to covidexitstrategy.org and you look at this chart, it's like the whole country now is red and trending poorly. So, but the South is especially bad.
Yeah.
And it actually has me thinking, I booked flights yesterday. Should I be canceling this whole thing and this is not the time to go?
That would be the responsible thing to do.
I mean, I'm on the Charleston subreddit and there's nurses saying, oh my gosh, the cases are piling in. Like, we've never seen it like this. I'm hearing that Hall's Chop House, the place where the guy shot the gun during the protests, one of their wait staff now has COVID, and they're about to test everybody in the restaurant tomorrow. And it feels like on that subreddit, people in Charleston are freaking out a little bit more now, whereas a month or two ago, they literally made a thread just for COVID because they didn't want it all over their subreddit. Back when everyone was freaking out, Charleston said, it's not a big deal. Let's put all the threads in one thing because we don't want to see it. And now all of a sudden, Charleston's like, oh my gosh, this looks like it could be really bad. And I'm thinking, am I going at the absolute worst time?
Yes.
I equate this to kind of like the stock market. You constantly buy high and sell low. Not all of us. I just kind of did it, but I bought back in. But that's the trend, is you make really bad decisions. And I'm thinking, is this a bad decision? And I don't know. I go back and forth. I was having this argument with Katie, and I was like, the fact that your parents don't think this is serious at all, and you don't feel like it's serious at all.
I'm not going to say that.
I just feel like, man, it would be really bad if something comes from this.
Of course.
And
we
it's
feel
right when
so stupid.
We end the show, the craziest stuff happens, we don't document it, and then we have to come back in like 3 weeks or a month and be like...
If we get to come back at all.
Yeah, like maybe we don't. Maybe somebody just comes in here and dismantles all this. And I don't know, man. Like, I keep going back and forth with all of this, and I don't know. I guess in my mind, I just think we're all safe at the moment. I don't feel like we've been in any super high risk, although you going and doing jiu-jitsu is higher risk. If you're going to do it in Charleston, like, I don't know what to do at that point. Like, I feel like I don't really want to be in the house. Like,
no, I wouldn't do that with you in the house.
Here's what I was thinking today. I know I'm like scatterbrained. I'm like going down one road, changing paths. But I was thinking, you seem to not really think this is that bad, and you keep saying, I wish I could just get it and be over with. Why don't you go to Disney World and then immediately, instead of going to Charleston, fly to Atlanta or New York or somewhere and just freaking get the virus and quarantine there and get sick and know that you have it, and then we will never have to have this conversation again, because once you are immune to it and Katie's immune to it, then everyone in this house now, like Kristen and I, don't have to worry about you guys anymore, and you can do whatever you want.
In a way, that is very tempting. I mean, obviously, the idea that I could potentially die from it removes a little bit of that temptation.
Well, let me ask you this.
Ask away.
If the coronavirus was as bad as what you had in December, or let's say it's 20% worse, let's say it's 50% worse than what you had in December, are you willing to just get it and get it over with?
No, I mean, that was a really bad sickness.
And that was just
really
a normal
bad.
flu.
Maybe. I'm very excited because when we're going to Orlando, Katie and I are going to Orlando on Tuesday, and I've looked up, and there are free antibody tests everywhere, all over Florida now.
Do you think you'd still have an antibody if you think you got it in January?
That I don't know.
That's a long time. Like,
that is a long time.
Very few people in America, we think, got it in January.
I know. It's the last bit of hope I'm clinging to. But yeah, that's a very fair question. Is that if you could just tell me for a fact.
Look at all of those red states.
If you could tell me for a fact that you can infect yourself right now and you're going to get as sick as you were in Charleston before, I would be very hesitant because I felt horrible for a long time back then. But if I knew a little bit more, I would definitely do it. If I knew that the coronavirus is going to be around for the next 2 years, and by getting sick for a week, I could have my life back and I never have to worry about it again,
Everyone
I would definitely
would do it.
that.
Yeah, we would all do that. I mean, again, I'm not that concerned about getting it myself. Like, I don't want to get it, and I don't know with the, having Crohn's disease and being on Humira, I don't know what happened to me. But I'm more concerned of just spreading it to other people, and I'm more concerned about, like, if you or Katie were to get it and die, or if Kristen got it and died, or, like, you just go in these really dark places.
Sure.
Giving it to your parents, like, all those things are super scary to me, and I just keep trying to, like, delay it and push it off. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's inevitable, and there's no way to just wait this out till November, December, and we're not going to have a cure, we're not going to have a vaccine, and, like, just get over it.
Just got to go to the Trump rally.
Go to the Trump rally. I mean, I go back and forth. I don't know what to do, but it feels like, and is this the media or is this stuff real science here? It feels like a wave is starting to come.
Yeah, it's certainly worse than it has been. There's no doubt. They are doing more testing, but also the percentage of positives, at least in Florida, and I think I've got a video about this, the percentage is going higher as well. So it's not just they're doing more tests. It is worse than that. Let's read some of these super chats here and get caught up here. Zach J says, will this pre-show super chat get seen? Yes, it will. Modern American Pro says, COVID ends Saturday. No mask, no lockdown. Yay, that's true. Everything's going to be totally fine by Saturday. We never have to talk about this again. Cruiseman's Garage says, rest in peace, Patrick. You're as good as dead. What is your game plan? What type of contraption are you putting on your face in the
I mean, I think I'm going to wear an N95 mask. And maybe.
Do you have access to one?
Well, I got to look into this. I have an N95 mask, but it doesn't have the little thing on it. So there's the N95 mask that has the little filter on it, which is the one I'm used to seeing. But then I have like an N95Y or something. It's got another letter on it, but it doesn't. It's printed N95 on the mask, but I don't think I don't know. So everyone here in Palmas was like, oh, we got plenty of the masks, and I found out they're just the same ones that I have. So maybe I'll wear an N95 mask, and then I'll wear the dental mask for double protection, and maybe I'll wear glasses, or like maybe I don't put contacts in and just wear glasses, or I wear the face shield. I just need to get through the airport.
Scuba goggles.
I mean, maybe I'll do that.
For extra safe.
For our audience, for the next one that we do, maybe I'll have that. You'll have to wait and see, but I feel like if I could just fly from Puerto Rico to Orlando, that flight to me feels safer. Maybe I'm way wrong.
Yeah, why do that? I mean, at the very least, why not fly to Atlanta? That's closer.
So I feel like Atlanta's a hot spot, and all their police are like, Atlanta's a crazy town right now. And the last place I want to be is in Atlanta with people who might live in Charleston that are like the worst people to be with because they're the ones not quarantining. So I feel like if I fly from Puerto Rico, where we've taken it kind of seriously here, and maybe the cases are lower here, we don't totally know, but we are an island and we have had a very strict lockdown. I just think getting on the flight from Puerto Rico to Orlando seems like a relatively safe flight. It would be like taking a flight from Anchorage to Seattle. I would be like, Anchorage is probably fine. But I probably wouldn't want to be on a flight from Seattle to New York. Like, those two cities seem like towns that are going to be full of people that are infected.
I think you're just looking too deeply into it. You know what's going to be really ironic is that if I go to Universal and I don't get it, and you wear a freaking scuba mask on an airplane and you do get it, as long as you survive, I will laugh forever.
So here is the other weird thing that just happened, is we have a mutual friend, one of your old roommates. She was going to come stay at my house in Charleston, and I didn't even know it was this weekend. Like, I thought she already came.
Yeah, I just texted her and was like, hey, just so you know, Patrick's coming in 3 days.
Well, she just texted us and say, hey, bad news, guys. We're not going to come to Charleston because my husband has a fever. They're in Athens, Georgia, and I don't think it makes any sense for us to come to Charleston. And I'm like, one, I forgot that they were coming. But then two, she says that they've been completely quarantined and can't imagine. She doesn't know he has COVID, but she's like, he runs a low temperature, like he's in the 97 degrees typically, and now he's close to 100 degrees, and they're really concerned that maybe he has coronavirus. I'm thinking, man, this is like the closest person to us, I feel like, that we know.
And they would have dropped it off in the house that you literally would have like come in and been like, home sweet home, and it would have just infected you with coronavirus. Yeah, that's true. All right, let me keep reading these real quick. In the final episode, I would like to see if Mike Kelly's guitar playing has improved at all. Another live performance from his mom's basement. Was I even there for that? I don't even remember that.
That was when we were having guests on, remember? That was like the first
And he played guitar?
Week.
I think I might have left for that. MM says, Patrick, can I have your iPad? So when you die, would you give him your iPad?
Yeah, if you come down and get it, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. You come to Patrick's funeral and I'll hand that
somebody's
over.
going to be like, I'm MM. We're going to be like, show me some ID.
I'm MM. Where is the iPad? Sorry, I'm grieving my business partner. Give me the iPad. Judge 32 says, what are you doing, Patrick? Florida is crawling with the Rona right now.
What am I doing? You're going to Orlando to go to all the theme parks. I'm just flying to Orlando and then getting a rental car and driving all the way to Charleston without doing any interaction with people.
I'm getting that vitamin D, man. I'm going to be super healthy. Photog Mike says, Patrick, order one from Daver. I don't know. It comes with a reusable, removable filters. Got mine today.
I have no time.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon literally is taking over 40 days to have stuff shipped here right now. Drew says, Lee, what gym do you spar at in Charleston? Do you know Joseph McDonald or Thomas Nettlehofer? I don't think so. I do know a Joseph. I don't know his last name. But the gyms I went to were the Divine gyms. The one on James Island has now changed its name to Holy City Jiu-Jitsu. And then the Daniel Island Divine Jiu-Jitsu, I sometimes go there. But I'm not planning to go there when I go back. Raymond says, N95 mask filter is a one-way vent, not protection. Really? What does that mean?
I don't know. I've gone down this rabbit hole with the masks, and some people are like they have to be fitted, and others are like they don't, and then some are saying that the reusable respirators that you can change the filters are better, and then others are like those have to be fitted to your face. And some masks on 3M's website will tell you the size of the particulate that it will filter. And then I looked up what the coronavirus is. I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's like 0.1 nanometers or something. But the reusable masks, the big ones, I can't find where it tells you the size of the particulate.
Well, the missing link has a very important message for you, Patrick. This person says, N95 with filter is not safe for other people because it expels air out the front. Don't you care about protecting others from you? Okay. Don't use those masks if you do, Patrick.
Well, I have the N95 that's got the seam in the front. So, maybe, I mean, that's what I'm going to wear because I don't have access to anything else at the moment.
Let's see. Carl, thanks for the super chat. He deleted his hateful message. Janine says, I had antibody test Monday and I was negative because I had H1N1 swine flu 2/1. What does that mean?
February 1st? Could you still have swine flu this year?
And I was in the hospital, wanted to make sure H1N1 test was accurate. I was really sick. Interesting.
That's interesting. We heard news stories.
I mean, could I have had that?
There was a news story we had like a month ago about people having had swine flu in Asia not getting sick. Maybe it was somebody like in Britain who was in Asia at the time. I forget what the story was specifically, but
Wait. Are you telling me that if I had swine flu in January, I could be immune to COVID?
I mean, now you have a relative that died of swine flu, so that's not a safe one either.
Yeah, but I've already had it.
You've had swine flu?
Potentially in January, what I have?
You got sick and you're like, dude, I think I had Ebola and I got over it, so I'm good.
Dude, that's science, man. Leonard says, so which one of you is going to be the first with COVID-19? I think we should open Vegas books and see what the odds on each of you are. I agree. I mean, obviously I'm living my life more than Patrick, but I was listening to a podcast earlier today and they were talking about have you heard of any of your friends having coronavirus or whatever? And everybody's like, no, just one of my friends. And he did everything. He never left his house. He wiped down packages when they came to the door. And he's the only person I know that got it. And he got over it in 3 days and it wasn't a big deal. But he tried to do everything by the book and he still got it. MM says, Lee, please live stream Patrick's funeral. Oh, man.
It's dark stuff.
It's
hope the family's not watching, you know.
Well, what is your parents' opinion of all of this?
I haven't been able to talk to them.
I would imagine they don't care. They're going back to work. They don't care.
I heard through my sister that my mom was more concerned about having to get a bedroom ready for us.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
That doesn't mean that I don't care or that I'm not thinking it through. But I need to talk to my parents. If my mom or dad were like, we don't want you to come, but I don't imagine they would say that, then I would just probably not even go to Charleston. That's my main... there's a lot of stuff I need to do in Charleston. I need to deal with this electrical strike and get the server stuff back up and running. And there's just things I need to do back there. But I booked 2 boats. So I got some boating to do.
Dude, we have got to get on a freaking boat.
Dude, the boat club's got 24 boats now. It's never had that many boats.
That's amazing. I'm so glad we didn't cancel our membership. The missing link says, make Photo Mike a moderator on this channel. I just did. Janine says, yes, February 1st, it was H1N1, 2009 strain swine flu. I only got antibody to make sure that they got my diagnosis right, and it wasn't Rona. Interesting. Janine, where can I get a swine flu antibody test done? Because I would pay for that as well, because I definitely had something dangerous in January. Yeah, I don't know if I told you this. I'm sure Katie told you this, but I called my mom today to tell her, hey, we're coming into Orlando. We're going to be driving through Jacksonville where you live, but maybe we shouldn't meet up because we're going to have just hung out with thousands of people and we were on a flight. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? I don't care. And I'm like, well, just getting off a flight, and she's always interacting with my grandmother and everything, and she's like, I don't care at all. And I said, well, maybe we could go to a restaurant, eat outside or something. And she was like, oh yeah, your dad and I just ate at such and such restaurant yesterday. And I'm like, inside or outside? Inside.
Yeah.
So they don't care at all. And Jacksonville, Florida, where they live, is the place where 16 girls got it all in one venue, just going to one bar.
But they were all fine, right?
Yeah, they're all fine.
I mean, how how long ago was it when you were talking about like a percentage of death that it adds to your life? Remember you were saying like the average of dying at our age group is like 0.5%. Any given year you could die.
Yeah.
And then if you get coronavirus, it's like 0.5% plus another 1,000th added to it or something.
Yeah, did we actually show that on the show?
Yeah.
Or we did? Okay. See, you guys need to find all these clips for us.
We can't. That's going to take forever. Like, that would take forever.
If we did it ourselves?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, I tried to do it today, and I got so overwhelmed. I mean, we have 90 episodes. I don't know where to look. But hopefully with 5,000 people who have seen every episode, they might be able to remember, like, oh, my favorite episode was this one, and they can find the best
Well,
parts.
our friend is tweeting or texting us and saying, if her husband has coronavirus, she'll let you know so that you can come over.
I can have a coronavirus party.
John will give it to you.
That's a good point.
So,
let me also, we're just postponing this entire show here. We've already been going 30 minutes. You know, days ago I talked about creating a prototype of a mask that would attach to a hat. So, because I don't want the thing smashed up to my face all day at a theme park in 100 degrees. It's going to be miserable.
this is your prototype over here?
So I've got a prototype. Keep in mind, this is just a prototype.
This is coming from the guy who's trying to make you a luxury hot sauce.
This is
So
just
if you were
proof.
interested in the luxury hot sauce, wait until you see this prototype because this is the man behind the genius.
I have simplified, and instead of going with the hat, I have attached the mask directly to the sunglasses.
This is the dumbest thing.
What are you talking about? Look at that.
It's not even touching your face.
Watch. How do you like me now?
What do you mean? Turn to the side. It's still not. It's like if somebody said, "How can you make a mask not fit at all? The least fit mask ever." That would be it. He's like, "Let me cut off the band. Let me tape the front. I'm not even going to push and clamp down the metal piece."
Yeah, I don't want it touching my face. That would be annoying.
So is this because they require masks there,
Yeah.
and this is a way to fool the security?
Yes.
It's people like you why America is doing so poorly with this whole outbreak.
No, it's because all the rednecks aren't wearing a mask at all. I've got this futuristic mask now. Everybody's going to be safe. And just imagine if I could sell these. If I could use a little magnet and you just go and just snap it on your sunglasses, I'd be rich.
It's like Sub-Zero went to Florida for vacation, and he wore the glasses. See, I thought you were going to make like a hat that had like what I have, the face shield that comes around such an angle that for it to like creep in through the back, it would be like difficult to get in. But you just basically took the mask and lifted it up off your face.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's genius.
I mean, could you not get like a mosquito net mask hat or something that has some kind of thicker mosquito netting where you?
So I've purchased that, but the problem is that it's not going to show up until mid-July.
Yeah.
So now I'm messaging my friends in Orlando, and I'm like, hey, can I send some masks to you and then pick them up? He's not responding to me. He's probably hiding.
Died. Yeah.
He's probably dead, or he's worried.
He's one of those that's like dead in the house that we haven't found because no one can.
So I don't know what to do, but I cannot walk around a theme park for 10 hours with like some elastic thing pressing something to my face all day. That would be too much. Chad says, as your biggest fan, Chad, if you are our biggest fan, you better submit something to fstopperslive@gmail.com, a clip that we should put in Saturday's show. As your biggest fan, will the show continue when y'all get back and settle in? Thank you for all the hard work on the Daily Show. I believe in my heart of hearts that something will continue out of this. I mean, we're definitely going to do a live photography tech show soon. So that is definitely going to happen. But this whole idea of like kind of talking about the news and arguing with each other and putting Patrick down has brought me a lot of joy. So I feel like maybe there's some weekly or monthly thing that we will continue. I don't know. What do you think?
I think Tim Martland has a good point here. He says, Lee, the longer I've watched these shows, the more I've come to the conclusion that you are an idiot. And people like you are a massive part of why we have this lockdown.
It's interesting that you find the chats that you're interested in on the right side. Somehow your eye goes right to that when all of my attention is going to our biggest fans and the super chatters.
I still like to read in between the lines.
Really?
I like to see what everyone else is saying.
Is that really what you're doing? Or you're just reading negative stuff about me?
Leonessa says, I'm getting a COVID test before my upper endoscopy in a couple of weeks. I'm actually hoping to get scoping in Charleston. I need to do that in July. See if this crazy medicine that I'm on is actually effective.
You're going to get COVID in
But
your
I don't
ass.
know if you're doing it there in Charleston at the Charleston GI Clinic. I guess they're doing stuff, but should I even do that? That could be super risky. Going into a clinic, but it needs to get done.
And like I said, you got stuff you want to do, so you'll justify it in your mind.
It's not stuff I want to do. Yeah, I want to go on a liquid diet for 2 days and have a scope stuck up my rectum. That's not something I want to do, but it needs to get done.
I know. I got to get some dentist work done.
I'm wondering if my doctor would even rewrite the script for Humira without doing that. Or if I get the scoping and he's like, the drug's not doing anything, and I'm like, well, keep writing that script because it covers my insurance, But I don't know. There's a lot to work out.
I bet you could convince him to do that. Phil says, I had swine flu in March. The same time my next door neighbor had COVID. Kinda jealous. I recovered in a few days while my neighbor had a fever for weeks though. I wonder, how do these people know that they had swine flu? I just don't know people who get sick and then go to the doctor and get tested for what they have. And I don't know what the purpose of that is. Just because you know you have the flu or you know you have the swine flu, what do you do with that information?
I'm shocked. I didn't know swine flu was still going around.
Neither. Wyatt says, Delta is currently in the process of testing all employees through the Mayo Clinic. We tested 1,200 employees in the last 3 days. Totally exhausted. Fly through them if you choose to fly. Too late. I already booked my flight.
Who are you going through?
JetBlue.
Okay. That's what we booked too. JetBlue is one of the airlines, I think, that's doing the center seats, right? They're not booking the center seats? I thought it was JetBlue and
when I booked, they weren't available, but that may mean you can't reserve it, but they will overload into that. Who knows? The Rob Cobb says, coffee is on me. And I'm not a big coffee fan, so that $15, Patrick, is for you.
Nice.
But I'm taking 50%. All right, should we actually show some of these clips?
Before you went there, a comment said they've been watching the show so much that I've actually shown up in their dreams. That's a scary thought. Yeah, let's get started with the show. My goodness.
Is this the one that we should watch?
This is a very general synopsis of where we are.
Turning now to the fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. Today, we learned 1.5 million workers filed for unemployment benefits in the last week. That's 13 straight weeks of at least 1 million claims and more than 45 million unemployed since the crisis began. It comes as more states are reporting record numbers of new coronavirus infections, including the country's 3 most populous states.
Dude, did you play this at 0.75?
Is she talking slower? What's happening here?
You did this, right? Is this your clip?
Yeah, I took this clip. Is the computer having a hard time playing this?
Let's see, because I got the exact same clip.
Turning now to the fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. Today, we learned 1.5 million workers filed
I'm sure it's shorter than your clip.
for unemployment benefits.
Did you do the whole clip?
I don't know.
Last week. That's 13 straight weeks of at least 1 million claims and more than 45 million unemployed since the crisis began. It comes as more states are reporting record numbers of new coronavirus infections, including the country's 3 most populous states, along with Oklahoma, where the president is holding a rally this weekend. CBS's Carter Evans reports tonight from Los Angeles. Carter.
Well, today, California's governor issued a mandate. Everyone in the state must now wear masks in public. This comes as American Airlines today banned a passenger for not wearing a mask. And, of course, as people stand in line for jobless benefits. Another day of frustration at the unemployment office.
I waited all day yesterday and was not able to get through to anybody.
This time-lapse video shows the extraordinarily long line in Frankfort, Kentucky.
That if we've been Kentucky taxpayers our entire lives, where's our help?
Even when the checks do arrive, for many, it's just not enough. But as some states reopen and crowds return, so does the virus. California reported almost 4,300 cases on Wednesday, a single-day record, and hospitalizations surged 11%.
You guys get the idea. Unemployment's continuing to go up.
When can we fire the unemployment people?
They need to get unemployment
My sister
themselves.
just got her unemployment today.
Hey.
And it was wrong. She is getting paid $200 a week more than she's supposed to. And I haven't been able to read all of these texts, but she's like, I don't know if I should tell them that I'm getting more than I think I'm supposed to get, or if they'll ever figure it out. And there's a debate going on in our family about like, somebody else got money one time, and the government came back for it like 6 years later and like asked for the penalty money and all this stuff because money was issued out in the wrong way. And it's just like, can these people get anything right? Like, I hate government workers. Like, it never works out. She said she would be on the call for an hour, finally get through unemployment and say, I've had an issue with my application, and click. They would hang up on her. She's like, it happened like 12 times over the last 3
my
weeks.
gosh.
She's like, I almost broke down in tears like multiple times this week. Because then I get back on the phone, same thing. I get somebody to help me, and they'd sound really frustrated, and I'd be like, yeah, I have an issue with not getting unemployment, and it'd be like, click. As soon as they heard her complaint, they'd hang up on her.
Well, I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about the PPP process.
Yeah.
And this guy, this business owner, was saying that he stayed up all night like he heard that it was going to go live at 4 a.m. his time or something. So he stayed up all night and was like the first person to apply.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how long goes by, weeks go by. He finally starts getting calls from people, and they say, okay, we got to ask you a few questions. We need you to fill out this form, whatever. And he would ask these people like, okay, what am I supposed to do next, and what's going to happen next? And no one had an answer. They were like, yeah, we have no idea. And he's like, but you work for them. And they're like, yeah, but every day it's changing, and we can't answer these questions.
I mean, 2 months ago, my parents were going through all of that, and it was like nobody knew the answer. All the bankers had no idea. It's like, we do the PPP loans, but we don't know. I mean, to this day, isn't our government giving us new guidance on how long things could be forgiven? It was like a week or two ago that we got notice that because they wanted to help restaurants a little bit more, they've extended the forgiveness plan to the end of the year now. So like some of the 6 months or 6 weeks, all of these things that they had in place have changed. I'm getting texts now in these groups that are saying there's new money to be had right now. There's more money and more loans, and people are jumping at the opportunity to get these loans for 3%. And part of me is like, are we making a mistake by not I mean,
we got to get some of that money.
If we could have got that money and put it in the market, we would be up so much right now.
That's true. We should be gambling the government's money in the stock market. Phil says he got tested because he's a nurse. I guess that makes sense. Footdog Mike says, I better get some of this super chat money for fighting off the trolls that this channel brings. Well, and Photog Mike, you've been one of the more generous super chatters yourself. It's like every time he comments, it's a super chat. So Photog Mike, let us know whatever tutorials you want from F-stoppers, and we will hook you up.
Leonessa is saying the same thing. When she got her unemployment, it was just a lump sum. I hope they don't ask for any of it back. That's what happened with my sister. She got like $5 or $6 grand and just a big lump, and she decided, let me calculate it out to figure out what I think I was supposed to get. And that's when she found...
Was she supposed to get more or less?
She's supposed to get less than what she got. She got overpaid.
Wow.
And everyone's like, they will find it and come back for it. And so you have to be on top of that too. You know, it's so ridiculous.
Let's play this one. I don't think I need to play all my videos today. I got a lot of videos, but
But first, coronavirus cases on the rise in Florida. Today's newest report of cases shattering previous records. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining.
And by the way, in case you're just tuning in, this is where both Patrick and I have decided to fly in on the night before the record-setting day.
Joining us, I'm Bridget Ellison.
And I'm Kirsten O'Connor. Justin Wormuth is off today. So here are the coronavirus facts in our state. The Department of Health is reporting 3,207 new cases and 43 deaths in the last 24 hours. News 6's Nadine Yanis joins us live in Orange County at Barnett Park. And she's breaking down the numbers for us. Nadine?
Well, we've already seen health officials concerned with the numbers this week as they say they've seen significant increases. But here we are this morning waking up to record-breaking numbers, the highest number of new cases in a single day in the state of Florida. Let's get right to them. If you take a look on Monday, that was the last time that we broke this record with 2,783 cases. It went down a little bit by 170 cases yesterday. But then this morning, we woke up to the numbers from Wednesday, totaling 600 new cases overnight, for 3,207 new cases reported today.
And she goes on to say, and not only have they hit the record number of cases in a day, but the percentage of positive tests has gone up as well. And what would you guess the percentage of positive tests currently in Florida is? Because it's way lower than I expected.
I mean, this chart, I don't know what this says. It says 91% of test target. I don't know what that means. And this also says Florida has a 7.4% increase in COVID rate.
I'm asking you to guess. I'm not asking you to read it.
The positive case, and remind me what this is?
So if they test 1,000 people, what percentage of them are testing positive?
I'm going to say... people that are getting tested are probably going because they have it, right? It's probably a pretty high number. I'm going to say like 60%.
I would have thought something like that too, but it's 12%.
12%.
Which seems pretty good. I thought...
So does that mean people are going thinking they have it and they're not? Or that means we're sending out so many tests to the general public that people are getting tested that are like quarantined at their home?
It's so convenient to get a test. I mean, we did a video on this a month or so ago. And I thought the guy was saying that if you can get the positive test to be below 10%, then it's proof that you're doing enough tests in relation to the amount of cases and stuff. So at 12%, I mean, that's pretty good. And for that to be like a record high number, it's even better.
What does PUA stand for? Because Nestor's saying my sister is probably getting the state PUA and the 600 federal PUA. Most likely the $200 is the state PUA. And I'm looking at her text and she says, I think they paid me for unemployment. UI, is that, what is UI?
Unemployment insurance?
Oh, okay. I was thinking it should be UE, but unemployment insurance and PUA. One is for basic people with a normal job and the other is for self-employed. I shouldn't be getting paid for both. I don't know what those two things are, but this is exactly what he is saying here, and he's sending me messages now. So if you could explain that a little bit better, I'll pass that on. Luckily, my sister, I have to say, she's staying pretty informed with all of this. She'll watch the show and correct me, and I will tell her, like, you need to do this, and then she's like, actually, no, that's not right. And so I'm pretty...
Has she been watching every night?
I don't know about every night, but she watches quite a bit.
Darren decides to make things racial and asks, is it time to drop the master/slave terminology, I would imagine, in photography?
Man, I wanted to talk about this because, you know, we give our writers a pretty open canvas and platform to say whatever they want to say. And there's an article right now in F-Stoppers talking about this. And this writer, and I'm sorry, I don't know who it is, he's going as far as saying we need to get rid of the terms in Lightroom, black and white. Because crushing the blacks and raising the whites is a racial thing. Now, I don't know if he was trolling a little bit there, but they're going on about this master-slave terminology, and half the comments are like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever read, and the other half is like, absolutely. It should be transmitter and receiver, and why are we talking about slave and master, and this is all crazy talk, like this should be removed from electronic speak. And I wanted to bring that up, but I forgot to get there's not really a clip about it. But when I read the blacks and the whites and crushing that and pushing that and raising it, I'm like, we're living in a time warp, right? Like, we're living in a...
The onion has come true.
This is craziness.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I mean, the master-slave thing, I think that's dumb, but it's a little weird maybe, just in current English language, you know?
Somebody was saying that they remember this argument back when, what were the hard drives before SATA? IDE, is that what it was? and you had to take a little pin and you had to put it and make this hard drive a slave
Yes.
to the main master hard drive.
Yeah.
And I guess people were, I never heard this argument back then, but people were complaining that master slave back then was,
I mean,
it's like when people's definition of the word slave is like one of the 3 definitions that slave could mean.
yeah.
It's like, can't we get a better education and learn to say slave means multiple things in different contexts?
Yeah, I mean, to try to ban a word because you don't like something that happened in the past that's related to that word, that doesn't change the past. It's just so
people are
weird.
arguing that the language in the future changes, that we can say, yes, slave is a bad word now, and we, as a society, agree
It's a bad word. Like you couldn't even reference slavery anymore because the word itself is bad. It's like a curse word.
With the photography lingo, I asked a question on this post, and I just said, because I was dealing with this with ProPhoto the other day, I was like, I need to put the ProPhoto light in slave mode, optical slave mode. And I was like, if you just use transmitter and receiver, that kind of makes sense. Give me the transceiver, and I'll put it on my camera, and then put the flash to channel 1A or whatever it is. But if I say I want it in optical trigger mode, optical slave mode, that's like a different type of receiver, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there is a nuance there where
It
I
could be
could
an
say,
optical receiver mode.
I've just never, ever used that.
Yeah, that's not what anyone's ever called it.
It's called like optical slave mode.
And you know, like with electronics and stuff, they call things male and female. Like if something goes into something else, the pokey out thing is the male side.
Is that under attack now?
I'm sure it will be. I mean, gender isn't a thing anymore. And
Could you imagine if you were like, I need an extension cable, or I need an RCA jack, and I need a male and 2 males, and then they're like, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir?
You
Excuse
can't.
me?
And you're like, I just want one with the sticky thing.
Sir, you will not speak like that in this Walmart. Please see yourself to the door.
Yeah, black and white photography is racist. Colored photography. It just, come on, man. Like, we're losing our damn minds.
By Cubist says, hey guys, I have a corona-related video I think you would both find funny. How can I send it over? Send it to fstopperslive@gmail.com. And if you're just tuning in and you have a clip of us talking in the last 90 videos that you want us to reference in the final video, put a link to it with the timestamp and send it to fstopperslive@gmail.com. Shaddai says, big fans, guys. Well, turns out I'm getting tested tomorrow. I did a shoot last week and my client just tested positive. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like this could be the story for the next forever. I mean, this could be the story forever until everyone gets it. Sam Tagree says, I thought Patrick is flying because of an emergency or work. He is being a wiener. Lee is always cunning and calculating. I love Sam Tagree. This guy is super smart.
Ismail says, plug and receptacle, not too difficult. Go on Amazon and try to buy audio cables and not use male and female. Try to use receptacle. It's just nonsense. Like, this is what we have always called it, you know?
Yep.
2 male stereos to 1 female mono, or, you know, whatever it is. Like,
Janine says they did a rapid flu test when WZ in hospital and WZ positive for H1N1. I know now they must have been worried about Rona. Was WZ put isolation, was very sick.
do super chats have like a minimum character or something? Like,
I think so. I think that's why people have to write
but then
crazy.
why are people writing ridiculous comments using like 30, notions? What do you call it? Characters.
Well, they don't have an excuse. Speaking of Florida, here's another clip.
I'm considering it now. In some ways, you want to talk about a full 180. For those people who don't remember back to day one, Florida and other states imposed a quarantine on New Yorkers. If you went to Florida, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks because they were afraid that New Yorkers were bringing the virus to their state. Fast forward 100 days, now we're afraid they're bringing the virus to our state. This was a tale of two cities, two countries. Who could have, how do you explain this? Who would believe this? Who would believe this 180 turnaround? But I haven't made a decision yet, but I have had experts advise me of that. It is a real concern. You're right, it could happen, and it's something I'm considering.
I've been saying this now for at least a month, that we should be treating the United States, it's like the United States shouldn't be viewed as one country. Like, we are so diverse, we're so big, there's so many geographic barriers and flight patterns and immigration in different ways.
It sounds to me like you're saying they shouldn't be allowing flights right now.
I mean, but we have one government, you know, we have one FFA that says what you can and can't do. I don't know. I don't think that that's that ironic and that funny. Like, I see where, yeah, other countries are banning other countries from flights. We saw this with China. China's like, we're good now. We're not letting foreigners in. I had a video about Wuhan maybe like 2 months ago. This is what America will look like. And I was like, look, they're not letting other people into their country. And here we are where states don't want certain people coming in back then and now. And this seems totally reasonable to me.
Yep.
But we don't have a barrier around a state because we are the United States. And so it's kind of like Europe. Can't you get into Europe and then just go wherever you want?
Not during the pandemic.
There was bans on that?
Oh, yeah.
What was Sweden saying? I thought they were saying that, like, was it because they have water around them that you could still get in the EU, but to get into Sweden was kind of difficult? I didn't think they said flights were banned. I can't remember. That was so long ago.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm sure someone will gladly tell me I'm wrong. You want me to go up here? Play this?
You know, we were talking about politically correct just now with photography. Might as well bring it to the sports.
The Hey Reb statue at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
I'm already offended. Who is this guy?
He's the Hey Reb.
I don't know what that is.
He's their mascot.
Okay, and what is that supposed to be? Is he a cowboy?
He's a rebel.
Okay.
Was taken down Tuesday night. UNLV's nickname is the Rebels. So he's gone. The question will be whether the Rebel nickname is gone. And then the question is when we get to the school, more prominent school with the Rebel nickname, University of Mississippi.
So are they going to get into why a rebel is offensive here? Like, I don't even understand why that's offensive.
They're going to talk about it a little bit, but I looked into this because I'm not that familiar with Las Vegas's mascot, but apparently he did dress in Civil War uniform and had a rebel flag on his hat. So he is a Confederate rebel, but I wonder where you draw the line here with, like, can you have rebels that aren't Confederates? You're just a rebel. Like,
you're rebellious.
Yeah, you do things against the grain. I mean, I could say a lot of the protesters are rebels, right? But in this case, there is a direct connection with the South.
Okay.
But what's so weird about this is we're talking about Las Vegas.
Yeah,
they have no connection to the Civil War.
Why would they do that?
Were they even a state when the Civil War happened? Was that like afterwards? Or?
I would think so. I don't know.
They weren't part of the Confederacy, for certain. I think Texas was as far west as.
Yeah, I wonder what, like, how did they even come up with this mascot? It's so weird.
No, but they talk a little bit about the sports teams here.
Also known as Ole Miss, which a name that has its own baggage. What does Ole Miss do? A school that has no shortage of history with racial problems. So let's start first with UNLV. What do you think of the move there to take down the statue? Would you change the nickname if you were the president and/or AD?
I mean, yes, right? Like I assume there was some backlash to this from minority communities, and look, ties to any sort of perceived tie to the Confederacy, I think we're going to see extinguished from American culture. And certainly they can be in museums behind glass in different places, and that's how that whole heritage versus history thing is another, is an argument that you're not going to hear here. But I really feel like we are entering an era where we, after being undersensitive for generations, we are now going to be rightfully oversensitive. And certainly this is going to happen at the university level. And there's even now there was an AP story out of Jackson, Mississippi this week that out of the state level we may see the state of Mississippi remove the Confederate emblem from part of their flag. And so anyway, I hijacked UNLV and went to the other rebels there, Pat. But I just think that's the climate we're in, and I am all for it.
Yeah, here's the thing: is the state of Nevada had nothing to do with the Civil War. Las Vegas wasn't even a city when the Civil War was fought. So you can't sit there and say, well, this is some sort of ode to our heritage or anything like that. And if it was, you absolutely have to get rid of it. So you could make an argument that, like, look, you are inventing a controversy here. But if I'm a university president and or the athletic director, I'm like, invented or real, we don't want any part of the controversy.
So he also brings up, Pete on this right here says, I don't know if you're aware of this, but like there's still states that have the Confederate flag in their state flag. Yeah. I think Georgia had it up until recently. They redesigned their flag. Alabama and Florida have flags that have a very similar structure. It's like white with red, and I don't know the history, but I would have to imagine that it's a derivative of the Confederate flag. Mississippi still has some of that in their flag too, so that's coming. You have to change all the states' flags.
Carl says, longer the super chat, the more it costs the sender. I don't think that's true, but I don't know. I thought you could just choose how much you wanted to donate. The missing link says Cisco Systems have announced that they are removing blacklists and whitelists from their network devices. So dumb.
What is CEO called? It's like black hat, where you like do backwards ways of like getting keywords on your website so that you can get ranked higher. They call it black hatting. That can't have that anymore.
Black Friday, can't have that.
Oh, that's a good one. Black Friday.
Yeah, but in terms of
what it means?
Finances, black is good. Doesn't matter. Still racist. Gotta stop.
You're in the black. You're in the red.
That's good. Peter says, is it just me or does Lee throw Patrick the same cocky smirks as Nick Sandman? Is that the guy we just saw? Photoshop the hat and they're like twins.
Who is Nick Sandman?
Maybe one of the guys that we just watched in the interview. I have no idea. Phil says, well, they have a major outbreak in Beijing now. Yes, they do. I don't know if we've got a clip about that today or not. Russell says, guys, can you explain to the viewers why you are into theme parks? I don't get it. Cheers, the Grinch. I think it's me, not you.
I like thrills and roller coasters, but again, I've joked that if you go on our YouTube channel, you don't have access to that, but the back end, every recommended video at times is like Disney stuff and how to beat the lines and where the best food is and where to put the coins in and get the pennies.
That is I don't watch the penny
And I'm
videos.
like, why do you care about this stuff? Like, I don't care about Mickey and Donald and stuff. Like, I like them okay, but I'm not. You just seem to be obsessed with these parks.
I have. So when I was younger, I was super into Universal and the thrill rides and the roller coasters and stuff. And I've been to Disney my whole life, and I was kind of over it. I thought, like, it's kind of for kids. The rides are kind of boring. But then, at the end of my honeymoon, I was like, hey, Katie, let's just run by Orlando and go to Disney. You've never done it. And she loved it. And she likes it so much.
Wait a minute. She had never been to Disney World?
No, I don't think so.
And she's married to, like, what, 24, 25? Like, in her 30s? Or 20. She's in her 30s, like 34?
Yeah, she was in her 30s. She had never been.
Never been to Disney World.
Yeah, and she loved it. And her love of it, like, reinvigorated my love. Like, I just was like, yeah, this place is amazing. And look at this technology. And look how clean it is. And wow, the sounds and the lights. Like, it's just the highest quality production. And I just appreciate it on that level. And so, I don't know. It's just this thing I like, and I agree. I will just play these. It's the lamest thing ever. I'll watch these videos of these vloggers who just vlog about theme parks, and some of these guys, all they do is vlog about Disney. It's the lamest thing ever, but you watch one video, and then they recommend another, and it'll be like, how to beat the lines at the new ride that everyone gets to. And I'm like, yeah, I got to know how to beat the lines. And then I watch that, and it leads to another one that's like, this new hotel is opening. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder what the hotel looks like. So I watched
how to get all the tarot cards from the fortune teller machine that's found in Tomorrowland, and you're like, yeah, I love that thing.
I don't go that deep. But I am ashamed of myself at some of the videos that I find myself watching.
It's like, how do the characters use the restroom when they aren't allowed? And you're like, I want to know.
That would be kind of interesting. Like, there are some videos that cast members make,
Who cares,
and they talk about like the crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes. I find that interesting. I agree. It's totally lame. MM says Photog Mike is dropping a deuce. Does that mean there's haters in the comment section that need to be banned? Chris S says, used to work at Disney. I get the obsession, Lee. You see, Patrick, you're a Grinch yourself. Me and Chris know what's up. But it's, you know what I cannot get behind, and all of the theme park vloggers seem to be into this, is the merchandise stuff. They will make videos where they'll go into the Disney stores and they'll be like, ooh, look at this Tinkerbell wand. I haven't seen this before. $12.99. Oh man, a new Minnie Mouse mug, and on this she's kicking a soccer ball. Wow, it's only $19.99. And they'll make whole videos about this and they'll have 100,000 views. And then I'm like, we're making these videos here and we get 5,000 views. So I don't understand who's into that.
Maybe this one will get a few more views because we talked about Disney.
Maybe.
And they'll be like, hey, did you see these guys talk about the Disney channels? They mentioned
They mentioned the Tinkerbell wand. Is that real? Where can I get that?
Daniel Jenkins says, the Florida flag with red crosses is indicative of the old Spanish flag, which still means it's got to go.
It's got to go.
Got to get that out of there.
We got to go. I just had dinner tonight with a buddy of mine, a white guy who's married to a Mexican girl. And we started talking about all this stuff. And remember, like the other night, I was bringing up how apparently, like, Spanish explorers are now considered white, like evil men. Okay. But their descendants, who are Latinos, are precious people of color now. Yeah. And I was asking him about that, and he was like, yeah, that makes no sense. And I was just saying, please.
But she wasn't there?
She wasn't there. I was like, please have babies so that we can just all be brown people and no one can even figure out race anymore, because I'm so sick of the stupidity. And
well, I mean, the conversations Kristen has with me, and I'm oblivious to it, but she's like, you know, our children are going to be half black, half white, and they're going to have identity problems. They're going to have to choose certain cultures, and it's going to be hard for them to fit in. And I'm just like, I don't understand how that's possible. But maybe I'm going to learn a bunch of stuff that I didn't know, you know? But I feel like it's whatever the parents throw on them.
Exactly.
But not just the parents, but like maybe it's the culture, you know? Like Kristen's very light-skinned, and she has a hard time teaching people, kids of color, because a lot of times they're like, what do they call it, passing? They're like, you're not black. And she's like, I am Jamaican. And they're like, no, you're not like me. And so like she sees it, and it's something I can't see. I'm like, yeah, I see you're all black and you're all different shades, and like I don't see it, but you see it, you know. But it's
you just don't think about it. You don't care.
Yeah, I just, you know.
I mean, it just has everything. If you give your kids an option and you talk about it all the time, then yeah, I think it's something that they're going to worry about. I've got a black friend that's got. She is married to a white guy and has very dark-skinned kids, and we were talking to her recently about all this, and she was like, I have never experienced racism, and my kids have never experienced racism. My kids fit in everywhere with black kids and white kids. It's not going to be a problem. I choose not to think about any of this or watch the news. I'm just going to be nice to everybody. And I'm like, yeah, you can definitely choose to do that. Or you can choose to say that, you know, you're being hunted and all this stuff. I just don't think that's good for kids. Carl Hancock says, Disney is a blast, but in July... Heat with a mask? Nope.
I feel
but what about
same way.
What about this right there?
Dude, they're not going to let kids go near you. They're going to be like, Mickey Mouse is going to be like, come on, kids, this way.
Chris says, Super Chat, $2 for 50 characters, $5 for 150, 10 for 200. Wow, I didn't know this. 20 for 225, and up from there to 500, 350 characters. NASCAR banned Confederate flag at tracks.
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago. We never talked about it, but...
Yeah, that's interesting.
But you can also choose your Super Chats, right? Because people will just give us hundreds of dollars. Usually it's to spray paint ourselves silver, gold, or wax our chest, but...
Yeah, you can choose the.
I didn't know
amount.
the character limit there.
I didn't either. Tom says PUA stands for Pandemic Unemployment Compensation. That's not even the right letters, but okay. And the additional $600 tacked on to unemployment is FPUC, or Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation.
I thought PUA was pickup artist.
Yeah.
Isn't that what that is?
Exactly. This?
Yep.
I don't even know what this is.
So this is just.
So.
This is now banned.
What? I grew up in Gainesville.
This is done. University will not allow this anymore. I don't know how they are going to enforce this because it's like a crowd started event.
Okay.
But the gator bait.
A gator eating someone? Is bad now?
I didn't find the picture, and I don't know. Like, if it's rooted in racism, I get it. But then there's also like, if somebody just made a little gator bait hook thing and it had a little black tar baby on it, and that is just one thing that's called gator bait from 100 years ago, and it's just coincidence. I don't know where you draw the line here, but they're saying gator bait is a racial slur that they use in Florida that represents like punishing or threatening people during times of slavery, that they would become gator bait, and that there is paraphernalia from 100 and 150 years ago that depict black people being used as bait to gators. And so the University of Florida has now said the gator bait anthem.
But hold on. Wait, is there an anthem where they're saying gator bait?
Yeah, they're saying.
So it's not the action of making the gator mouth. It's the
that
saying.
With the other part of it too. But again, it's like crowd participation. Maybe some of these things kind of start with the cheerleaders, you know, and it's like, we're going to get the cheer ready, and everyone's like, hell yeah, we're doing the gator bait cheer. But I can also see where they're just going to do it naturally. I mean, Alabama, we got the Yellowhammer, you know, where we're cussing and give them hell, and, you know, Song of the South, where they play Alabama song, and I don't know where you draw the line with all this. I put an avatar, a logo in our featured image of all the things that are now banned, and I put like Leonard Skinner, and many times Leonard Skinner's logo has a Confederate flag in it. I grew up listening to Leonard Skinner. I don't think they have ever said anything racial in it at all. But, you know, they've used the flag, you know, Charlie Dan. There's like a lot of Southern musicians that have used that emblem in their logos before. And I'm like, is Leonard Skinner going to be canceled now?
Yeah.
It's just like, horrible. It keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. I mean, we're not allowed to say slippery slope, but we can say slimy decline.
We're on a slimy decline.
Yeah.
Treacherous decline. Another big story
Melissa,
today.
Facebook says it's taken down Trump re-election campaign ads that describe, quote, dangerous mobs of far-left groups and feature a red inverted triangle, which is similar to a Nazi symbol. That is banned on Facebook because it breaches Facebook's rules on hate. Facebook telling us, quote, we've removed these posts and ads for violating our policy against organized hate. Our policy prohibits using a banned hate group symbol to identify political prisoners without the context that condemns or discusses the symbol. We are reaching out to the Trump campaign for comment. This all, of course, comes after Mark Zuckerberg has said the company is reevaluating how it will flag posts that could incite violence, and it all comes as Facebook, Twitter, and other tech companies face growing scrutiny from the Trump administration. Guys, back over to you.
Julia, it's interesting because Facebook's stance earlier on some tweets was sort of lauded as being the more neutral one and maybe favorable in terms of the administration response or regulators going after Facebook versus Jack Dorsey over at Twitter. And here, Mark Zuckerberg is sticking his toe into it. You got to wonder what the political blowback is going to be here.
I mean, but I think, Melissa, I think the thing here is that Facebook is saying that this clearly violates their policies. Right. They're using a Nazi symbol. They're saying something which is clearly in violation of the policies.
Wait a minute. Are they saying that Trump himself is paying for ads that have a Nazi symbol in it? What is this symbol? I've not seen anything like this.
It is an upside down triangle. And people are saying that it looks like the yield sign, but then other people are saying that it's something the Nazis used in much of their propaganda. I've searched everywhere to find this video.
Yeah.
I cannot find this banned video from Facebook. It must be banned on YouTube, or it's not. I haven't found it anywhere. I haven't seen a single.
That's what makes me skeptical about this.
Well, all the news channels are talking about it. It was all over Twitter today. That and it's not necessarily Trump himself, but it's his PAC, super PAC, or some supporters that are coming up with these videos, and then I don't know how this works. Do you have to sign off on them to some degree, or you're?
I mean, if I Googled upside down triangle right now.
Well, I have it in here, but
you do?
Play the next video. Keep playing this one. I don't know if there's anything left in this video. You're killing my story, Lee.
Melissa, Facebook says it's taken
so
down.
long.
Violates their policies. They're using a Nazi symbol. They're saying something which is clearly in violation of the policy. So before, what Zuckerberg was saying is that was a gray area. That was something which did not violate the policies, that he wanted the public to be able to see what the president was saying in those posts. Here are ads that actually clearly violate Facebook's policies. So it seemed like for them, this was a pretty easy decision to make.
All right. It'll be interesting to see what the administration, what the statement is from the campaign. Julia, thank you. Julia Borston.
So I have the logo here in a minute. I want you to play the next news story first. But it brings up an interesting question. And somebody brought this here in the comments as well. This idea that if you don't know that something is racist, if you don't know what the symbol is, does it make it any worse or better? If there's an upside down triangle that's like a Nazi symbol, but like none of us, you and I who are very well versed in the Nazi paraphernalia.
It's true.
I have no idea what this is. I've never heard of this.
Or like the gator symbol, it's like no one who ever did this knew that it had anything to do with racism. Yeah. It's like we're doing some clap symbol to play a stupid sport. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Like we all know the swastika. Like that's probably the most well-known symbol ever. But when you start getting into like an upside down triangle that's red, maybe it has a black bar around it. Like I've never heard of that before ever. But maybe people do. Maybe it's virtue signaling, and people that are, these crazy crazy right-wing people that are major racists. It's like their call symbol, and they're like, yes, we know what he's talking to us.
That's what everybody said. What do they say? It's a dog whistle to the racist.
Yeah.
Like the racists know what he's doing. I'm like, the racists are the dumbest Americans we have. They do not know that there's some secret symbol. They don't know when they go to a football game. They're like, yeah, we know what this means. They don't know.
I don't know, man. I think they could be like these crazy conspiracy theorists and stuff where like they know.
Well,
they're meeting with their Klan people in the basement.
There's
a
new sect of those people.
Did you see Trump's campaign video? He's with us. Look at this. We got it up there. Like, I bet you they do know. It's just, it's not mainstream at all. It's something that the normal people don't know about at all.
I think the conspiracy people also read into everything and they just make stuff up that's not there.
Well, that's why I want to see the video, because I want to see how this symbol is used, and is it on a car license? Is it some weird thing that you're like, that's totally explainable in some way, or is it like...
And how would Facebook know about this?
Well, I guess that's where I first wanted, that's what I was going to ask you just now is, at what point can these major social media platforms start saying we had to pull the ad because there was a racist symbol in it?
Right.
And you're like, what was the racist symbol? And they're like,
oh,
the Cambodian, we found this symbol that was, and you know what that means. And you're like, there's only so many logos,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I had a sideways triangle. I don't even know how that got in there. It was part of the Contra Code, and they had a left triangle, and like, my bad.
Jesse says, if something started in racism but no one knows, is it still racist? Normally I'd say, no, it's not. Who cares? But in today's climate, everything's racist. Y River says, wife and I are watching. She loves you guys. Give Lindsay a shout out. She's currently playing on her phone per usual, saying she's paying attention. Lindsay!
Who is this? Rye River.
Pay attention, Lindsay. Come on, man. Darren says Aunt Jemima is now Aunt Tifa. Antifa. I get it.
You messed that one up, Lee.
Sorry. Merlin says Lee's mask equals the jerk 2. Man invents mask, goes cross-eyed. World goes cross-eyed, Lee gets sued. I don't think I ever watched that.
The jerk 2? I mean, that's like the weirdest sequel, right?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen it. Studio Rivi says, been watching these Rona Journals from the beginning. Can't thank you both enough for your time and effort. I hope you come back and do a once a week news cap. Appreciate your balanced opinions. Have fun, guys. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Very kind of you. All right. So can we see this logo? Or
Play number 9 first. Because this is
caught up
Fox
on the
News'
story
response.
with Facebook. But it looks like what Facebook did is they banned President Trump's ads for including Antifa's symbol. The irony is, though, is that they assumed that symbol that President Trump was using was his symbol. It was Antifa's own symbol, and they didn't ban it when Antifa was using it. So again, they just exposed just how biased they are.
That is absolutely nuts. You know, the news broke as we were going on air, so I couldn't get the details on it. You know, it feels like, listen, Facebook under a lot of pressure. We both know this because initially they weren't going to do what Twitter did. They said, you know what, we'll let the platform speak for itself. They also said they let people opt out of political ads. So it feels like they're bending to the will of the mob. But how hypocritical is this?
Okay.
So it's like, it's not even a racist symbol. It's Antifa's symbol. Or is it? So I don't know anything about this, but this is apparently the 2 logos. And you can clearly see that Fox News is wrong, because if that's Antifa's logo on the left, it can't be the upside-down triangle that everybody's talking about. So those newscasters, and they both admit, like, I'm just hearing about this story, so I don't really know, but they're going on air talking about it. Again, I cannot find this video. Like, I want to watch the video and see what all this hoopla is about.
If anybody knows where it is, email it to fstopperslive@gmail.com. Okay, so
but do you still look at the right logo? That's this racist.
That's the most hateful symbol I have ever seen.
People
Get
were
that
upset.
out of my sight.
People were upset, and this is where I don't know what the answer is. People were upset a few days ago because Trump tweeted out something about the SS, and it was an abbreviation for Secret Service. But everyone was saying he knows damn right what he's doing. He's, what did you call it, dog whistling?
Yeah, the dog whistle to the alt-right.
It's like he's letting the alt-right know that it's the SS of the Nazis.
What?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they're right. Maybe they're not. They were just saying no president's ever said the SS.
No president uses Twitter 1,000 times a day.
They have limited characters.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to spend all the money to do the super chats.
Right.
So this is an interesting video. Before you hit play on this, are you familiar with what's been going on in Atlanta the last 24 hours?
No.
All of these cops are saying, you know what? We're going to call in sick.
I did hear about that.
We're not coming in. And I had some videos of police radio, and they were really boring and hard to understand, and I tried to do the subtitles, and they were like wildly wrong. But basically, these operators from 911 are calling and saying, hey, we have a murder here, we have claims of rape, we have somebody intoxicated. Like, all of these things are going on, and the dispatcher's calling the police, and they're like, yeah, you're going to have to get it from another jurisdiction because there's just nobody here to respond. We've all called in today. And so the police now are playing this game. And this guy has, I don't know, he sums this up. I don't know that this is long. Maybe it's like 2.5 minutes. It's entertaining, and I think he has a pretty good point, but this is called the blue flu.
So we're going to talk about blue flu sweeping the nation, particularly in Atlanta right now. If you don't know, this is where cops engage in work stoppages or slowdowns, or they call out. And they do this as a method of addressing something that they perceive as a wrong. They're trying to draw attention to something that they believe in their minds is an injustice. That's where it comes from. That's why they do it. Now, this happened in Atlanta hours after the cop got arrested. That's when it started. So that's the injustice. We're just going to dive into their mindset for a second, okay? The idea is that if they do this, the city will descend into chaos, and that the community that they're supposed to serve will become victims of crime, and therefore they will just be overjoyed when law enforcement returns to full strength. This is basically the government's version of, look at what you made me do. So the idea is to put the community at risk in order to get what they want. they're doing this because the criminal justice system is broke. That's why they're doing it. Their buddy got arrested, and they think that that's wrong, so the criminal justice system does not work. And they're doing it as a show of solidarity, to back each other, even at the expense of innocent lives, those who they are hoping will become victims. You know, when the city descends into chaos. Let it burn, quote. That's the idea. Okay. What are the main complaints from the Black Lives Matter movement? That the criminal justice system is broke. That law enforcement doesn't actually care about the community. They're not there to serve the community. And that law enforcement will back each other at the expense of innocent lives, particularly black ones. Congratulations, officers. You just proved everything that BLM is saying is true. That this wasn't really well thought out, because these little temper tantrums, these little stunts have happened before. That's why there's a cute name for it. The cities never descend into chaos. They never work. These little work stoppages and slowdowns, they don't actually produce the results you're hoping they will, because most people are good. Most people don't actually need to be over-policed. Most people don't need a gun pointed at their back, and they certainly don't need it fired. The reality is, the last time this happened in any big numbers, the crime rates went down. That's what happened. People were able to breathe a little easier. It didn't have the effect that you thought it was going to. And that's what's going to happen here. It's what always happens. The propaganda you push isn't true, and you need to be aware of that as you're walking into the negotiating of reforming the entire culture of law enforcement. You should be aware of that. What you have told everybody isn't accurate, but you've told everybody it for so long that you believe it to be true.
So he goes on a little bit more, but he's basically just saying that, like, you have now pointed out the jobs that we do not need, because the city of Atlanta is not going to burn, and crime rate isn't going to go up, and people don't need to be ticketed because they're going slightly over the speed limit. And basically, we may actually, in fact, have too many police, and we have too big of budgets. And if you go to other countries, you know, maybe they don't build up this police force the way that America does, and we could pull back a little bit. It wasn't really the reaction I thought we were going to get from a guy who looked like that.
That's
Maybe
true.
I was being a little prejudiced towards him.
You were, so was I, but
do you? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't. I would need to see. I cannot fathom that if you remove the police, that crime rate goes down. I cannot. I mean, what does that even? What does that even mean? That people are robbing because there are police, or is he saying that people can rob and get away with it, and it's never even put on the books without police? I don't know. That's just. That seems impossible to me.
That's an interesting point, because you would say the guy was committing a crime, maybe. He was drunk in a car.
Yeah.
And there is a line there where maybe if the keys are out of the ignition and you're sleeping in the car.
No, he drove to the place super wasted. He was committing a very serious crime.
Yeah, but don't you need proof of that? I mean, I guess if you don't have empty bottles in your car, then you have to assume there's probable cause that he drove drunk there. But if you didn't see him drive drunk there, isn't that an improper siege and search or whatever? It's like you're now drawing a line and saying that you're here drunk now in a car, therefore you must have driven drunk to get here.
I mean, I assume that's
But you're
how it
assuming,
works.
like you didn't see it. That's the line you have to draw in court, right? He could have had his car parked there, and he could have walked drunk from somewhere else and got to his car, and
He parked his car like in the drive-thru.
All I'm trying to say is that it just I can't say for certain that he committed a crime by being drunk in his car that was not being driven at the moment when the police saw him. It was like a crime that they were assuming had happened.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think if you're in the driver's seat, it's DUI, but go ahead.
This is what I'm saying. If you're in the driver's seat and the keys are out of the ignition, I don't know. These are the laws I don't know. I've been drunk before and sat in a car to sober up and have wondered these same thoughts myself, you know. But I've heard different things that if you turn on the AC, turn on the accessory and everything, like you might be breaking the law. My point is just that, like, is that a crime to do what he was doing, to sit in a car drunk? And if there's no cop to say, yes, that is a crime, that doesn't get marked down as a crime itself, so the number would go down, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird catch-22 sort of thing.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'd be happy to... He said there was one other time where this happened and the crime rates went down. I'd be very interested to look into that and see how that happened and what did they do after they learned that? Did they just get rid of police after that and the world became a utopia?
People are saying if you're in a car and you're drunk, it's illegal. If you're a passenger, is it illegal? I don't think that shouldn't be illegal, right? You should be able to be drunk in a car.
No, you can do that.
I think you should be, people are going to be pissed at this, I think you should be able to have alcohol and drive as long as you're below the legal limit.
It does seem like that, yeah.
Like if you have a beer in your car and it's the only beer you've had and you get pulled over and they make you blow and you are below the legal limit, I don't really want to advocate for this. This isn't something like on the top of my list, but I feel like if there's a legal limit and that's the limit, then until you're over that, it should be legal. It is legal, at least it was in some states. I think Mississippi, you could have an open container in the car and drink as long as you weren't above the limit. And I was like, that seems reasonable to me. But I got a ticket because I was a passenger and took a beer into a car. And a cop happened to see me leave the house and go into the car. And we got pulled over immediately. He knocks on my window and says, "Where's that beer?" And I'm like, it's like a quarter of a beer. I have a designated driver. She hasn't had a single thing to drink. And you're going to give me a ticket for having an open container? It just seemed like...
Rules are rules, Patrick. Folk Talk Mike
says,
driving. Is Steve Martin racist for uttering the words, "I was born a poor black child"? Absolutely he is. Carl says, U.S. has always gone out of its way to abbreviate the Secret Service as USSS to disassociate from the SS for obvious reasons. Trump is dumb and oblivious. I didn't know that, but I'm also dumb and oblivious.
What is Social Security abbreviated as? Could that ever be SS?
Yeah. Social Security is always SS.
Isn't that really bad too?
SSN?
Social Security number.
Yeah.
But Social Security, like we paid into Social Security. When are you eligible for Social Security? Can you abbreviate that? Can you abbreviate anything as SS?
No, it's a dog whistle to the alt-right. Vid says, no cops equals no arrest equals no crime. Loving this logic. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. And then... I mean, obviously I would need to hear from these police officers, but I think it could potentially be a jump to say the police officers are not going into work because they want their city to fall into chaos and everybody begs them to come back. It may not be quite that deep. It could just be they're like, hey, our buddy did exactly what he was trained to do and the exact same thing that I was trained to do, and maybe I would have been in his same shoes, and now you guys are all calling him a murderer, and that could be me, and I don't feel safe doing this job anymore. Like, if you're going to teach me to do something with certain protocols and then we do it and then you put us in jail forever for murder, this isn't a job I want anymore. But I don't know. At that point, I might just quit. I don't know if I'd call in sick. Okay, somebody sent me this video, and this is a fantastic video, and I wish I knew the whole video, but basically this study explains how people are getting coronavirus, dying from coronavirus, and then are completely asymptomatic from coronavirus. And basically they are saying, and you know, it's kind of information we knew, but they're bringing it all together. They are saying that it has not everything to do, but a lot to do with the viral load, right? So the amount of virus that you're inhaling will determine if you're asymptomatic, if you get really sick, or if potentially you die.
The load?
Yeah, how much of the virus you get. And so this video is talking about how just staying 6 feet away from people is not...
You remember that video you had where we could potentially save ourselves from the virus by, like, was it ice cubes of some sort? Like frozen sperm or something?
That's true. Human semen.
Ejaculate, something like that? Mm-hmm. Do you think the load on that also affects how, like, if you get a large load of the virus, you need a large... Just play the video.
I mean, scientifically speaking, that sounds right.
Just play the video.
The contamination mostly occurs via microdroplets called aerosols. If you are only briefly in contact with the aerosols, you will not get sick, possibly so lightly that you don't even notice. But if you stay in contact for a longer period, the risk of infection increases. The longer the contact, the stronger the infection. This animation comes from a video by a renowned Japanese professor of virology. In it, you can see that aerosols can remain in a closed atmosphere for a longer time.
About 10 people in an enclosed space the size of a classroom. A person coughs once and spreads about 100,000 droplets. Large droplets are shown in blue and green. Most of these fall to the ground within 1 minute, but the microdroplets, shown in red, continue to drift. This simulation uses only microdroplets 20 minutes later. The microdroplets are still floating in place.
Taking this concept as a basis, it also explains why people get infected at superspread events, such as Carnival, après-ski bars, and church services. There, only one person has to be infected and emit aerosols, and since the surrounding people remain in the area for a longer period of time, they get infected. This concept also explains why there is no outbreak in many refugee camps. The houses and tents there are relatively poorly insulated, which does ensure more optimal ventilation. Thus, the air is more effectively circulated. The church choir in Seattle did observe proper social distancing, but they stayed in a closed space for the entire rehearsal where the aerosols could remain and unfortunately be inhaled by many members. The studies also showed that there were virtually no infections in outdoor environments because the aerosols are effectively dispersed outside. And we could give more examples. Look at cruise ships and many healthcare institutions with ventilation systems that don't effectively remove stale air and replace it with fresh air, but instead circulate the infected air throughout the system, the aerosols remaining inside. Looking at the evidence as we see it, the new 1.5-meter rules therefore constitute a false sense of safety. It's not about the distance. It's about the risk of inhaling aerosols over a prolonged period. That means, in the open air, it is virtually impossible to become infected. Indoors, good ventilation is essential. And higher humidity, which evidence shows can ensure that aerosols have a harder time remaining long.
So, I wouldn't say that anything in this video is, earth-shattering or that new, but he explains it in a simple way that does make sense, and it makes you kind of think that, being inside, especially at work, might be the most dangerous thing that you could do with a group of people, and that potentially being outside with a group of people could be the absolute best thing, because what at least this video is insinuating is that you want to get a little bit of the Rona so that your body builds antibodies, but you're never symptomatic. Mm-hmm. That's the perfect situation. So Universal Studios Orlando
could be
is the greatest and most safe place an American could go.
How
right
many
now.
videos did you have to watch to come up with this one that proved your point perfectly?
I was sent this, I think, last night.
Everyone's saying this is the worst episode of South Park ever. South Park Science. Yeah, I wonder if we will be in another house with more central heating and air, like air conditioning. Here we have these like split units only in the rooms that we're in. So like this is probably the most centralized AC in the whole house. Everything else is very compartmentalized. I wonder if there's a filter that I can put in the AC. Like if you stay downstairs in my house, that has a separate AC from the one upstairs, but we'll still be in some common areas. I wonder if I could put a filter that do they make filters for AC that can filter out the virus, or is it so small? Like my dad had to buy some crazy contraption that like circulates and filters the air out. It was like $1,500 or $2,000 for or something.
You better buy one of those. This is a weird video of Fox News asking the president's girl about Fauci, basically admitting that he lied about the masks because he didn't want Americans to hoard the masks. And while he's asking the question, this girl starts to, get teary-eyed or like, just watery eye, and her makeup starts to run. I don't know if this is even worth showing, but I found it somewhat humorous. We can go full screen here.
I got to ask you about Anthony Fauci. A couple of days ago, he came out and said, well, I admit that I did not downplay the efficiency of face masks early on because he wanted nurses to have face masks, so he basically told us not to wear them, as I paraphrase. So he essentially was being deceptive when the pandemic first hit. Instead of saying, grab a bandana, not a mask, he said, don't worry about it.
Look,
did the president know did the president know he wasn't being honest about the usefulness of a mask?
So I haven't spoken to the president directly about that quote from Dr. Fauci, but what I would say is the administration did consistently emphasize that N95 respirators should not be used because we needed to save those from...
I mean, she can feel this, right?
Yeah.
Maybe wiping it makes it worse. I don't know how you girls do it, but...
What is something about to happen here?
No.
Do they call her out?
No, this is the end of the interview, luckily.
Oh.
Medical personnel.
What do you think's happening? Do you think she's like me, sweating her ass off in the heat? Do you think she's having like an emotional, she's holding back emotions?
No, I think, sometimes your eyes just water. You get a piece of pollen in there or something.
Also, I believe that's what Dr. Fauci was referring to, but in terms of the president on that quote specifically, haven't spoken to him about that.
I mean,
all right, Kaylee, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Thank you.
She's like, all right.
Yeah. But she kind of dodged that question.
Could she be like a cyborg?
Absolutely.
And it's just like the oil is dripping out.
Lizard person. Let's see.
What is this football one?
Oh, you'll
The
love
country's
this.
top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, sounding a major alarm about the future of professional sports this fall. CNN's chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, he spoke to Dr. Fauci. Tell us what he's telling you.
Yeah, I mean, there was concern, as you guys have been been reporting regarding baseball, and when that season, if it was going to happen, when it should likely end, given a possible resurgence of this virus in the fall. So that brings up the question about other sports, and I talked to Dr. Fauci. He asked specifically about football because obviously a later season. I can show you a little bit of what he said. He obviously has concerns, but bringing up this idea that in order for this to work properly, in order for a team to be able to do this, players would essentially have to be inside a bubble, not really having significant interaction from the community. They need to be tested nearly every day, and it would be hard to see how football, he said, would be able to be played, given that there's likely going to be a second wave and a predictable flu season. If you start to add in all these various things, you can see the last line there, football may not happen this year.
What you got to say about that?
I've been saying that the whole time. Like, I'm going to say totally prepared, but like, yeah, I don't think we're going to have football. I still don't think we're going to have college. I mean, if colleges are like, we have to distance ourselves from the gator bait, aren't they going to have to be like, we can't possibly take on the risk of having all the students come back to campus? Shouldn't they be saying that? Like, let's be honest here. Isn't the risk of students dying on campus from coronavirus much worse than the gator bait thing?
How dare you compare something as minuscule as a pandemic to the hate of this symbol?
I just did.
How dare you?
I really don't know that we're going to have kids going back to college. Like, and I wonder, like, here's something else I was thinking about. I don't know that we have anything on the stock market today. It was maybe kind of flat, maybe. Are we at a moment right now, this is the big question that everyone's asking, like, are we at a moment when we are going to be so upset that we said, man, we should have gotten out of the market? It just has rebounded, maybe in a few weeks, maybe in like a month or two. Maybe this is the second wave. Maybe this is the first wave that's just really hitting us. Are we about to see everything come crashing down because of coronavirus? You and I think, have thought this might happen because of the economy. As soon as July is over with and the unemployment money is out and all of this other stuff, the economy just can't possibly be as strong as what the market is making us believe. But could the virus be coming back to do this all over again? And we're all going to be like, why in the world did we not see, like, the market rebounded? We saw the cases going up. You and I talked about flying to Florida when it was the worst possible time maybe to fly to Florida, and we did nothing with the market. I guess you're not in the market, so there's nothing for you to do.
I mean, I've thought about shorting more.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever want to play that game again. Like, it's
not
just
the smartest game.
Yeah, it's fun to bet against. It's fun to bet with the market and be like, I think we're going to do better.
Yeah, it's playing the pass line versus the don't pass line.
But the don't pass line in craps, if you're not a craps player, you can still win. Is the percentage of winning probably fairly similar too? It's just you're now going against the table. When you're shorting the market, that's not typically a game that works in your favor as often, right?
Yeah, you can only make 100% or lose unlimited. So that's a little scary. Do you want to play this one?
This was another big story today. You familiar with DACA?
Thank you for joining us. We are going to begin tonight with a surprising Supreme Court ruling against the Trump administration, one that has wide-ranging implications for nearly 650,000 young immigrants known as Dreamers. In a major decision, the court stopped President Trump's move to end DACA. That's the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program that was started under President Obama. The policy gives some immigrants who entered the U.S. without authorization when they were children the chance to come forward and to apply to stay and work in the country. But the Trump administration said DACA was illegal and tried to terminate it, leaving nearly 750,000 young people in limbo. Well, today, supporters celebrated at the court after the justices voted 5-4 that the Trump administration improperly ended the program. The decision, which was written by the Republican-appointed Chief Justice, angered President Trump, who fired back on Twitter. And it creates another heated issue in his re-election campaign against former Vice President Joe Biden, who backs the program. There's a lot of news to get to tonight, and our team of correspondents is covering it all. CBS's Jan Crawford is going to lead us off tonight from the Supreme Court. Jan?
Well, Nora, it was another loss for the president in this newly conservative court. Today's ruling was narrow, but for DACA recipients, it was momentous. For those young people who dared to dream, the decision brought overwhelming joy.
I immediately started tearing up because this is amazing to me.
And an outpouring of hope.
We cried on the phone because it was something shocking that we were not expecting.
The 5-4 ruling, written by Chief Justice John Roberts and joined by the court's 4 liberal justices, said the Trump administration's decision to rescind the Obama-era program was arbitrary and capricious, and that it failed to consider the hardship to DACA recipients. But 3 of the dissenting justices called the decision an effort to avoid a politically controversial but legally correct decision. Coming on the heels of Monday's victory for gay and transgender rights at the court, the president lashed out on Twitter, saying these horrible and politically charged decisions are shotgun blasts into the face of people that are proud to call themselves Republicans or conservatives. President Trump announced in 2017 he was rescinding DACA, saying it was unlawful because President Obama exceeded his authority when he implemented it in 2012 by executive action.
These aren't people. These are animals.
But in a separate opinion, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the court's first Hispanic...
Why would they put that clip of him saying that right there?
These aren't people. These are animals.
Is that when he was talking about the murderous gang that was like
I don't know where
cutting people's heads off and stuff?
I don't know where that clip was taken from, but I did chuckle when I saw this the first time, thinking like,
there's no way he said that about children brought over here, and they just snuck that in there. That's so ridiculous.
Justice says remarks like those create the strong perception President Trump's decision was contaminated by impermissible discriminatory animus. On Twitter, President Obama praised the decision and urged Americans to elect Joe Biden and a Democratic Congress that does its job.
It's like sometimes you fight for stuff and you think it's never going to happen, but we're seeing a turn in people.
Now, the court sent the case back to the Department of Homeland Security to try again to justify why DACA should end. That is not likely to happen before November, which of course means immigration, the makeup of the Supreme Court, again, major issues in the upcoming election. Nora?
All right, Jan.
I don't know much about DACA at all, so I don't know that I have an opinion about it.
I mean, we've definitely talked about how first-generation immigrants usually are the hardest workers in America, and they usually dream big, and they usually succeed at becoming successful, and many times people that are able to travel to America. Mexico provides a unique example because you can physically come from any country and come across the border, whereas other countries around the world, you have to get a flight and come over to America. But typically, immigrants that come from other countries and fly are actually very well educated. They are very smart people who are providing for our society because it's so hard to actually get approved to come over legally.
Sure.
So I think the border provides kind of a difficult thing because so many people do seep through it, you know, illegally, without going through the proper form to do it. But they're now saying that if you were brought over as a child from a parent who came over illegally, you can't be kicked back out. It all kind of stems, and this kind of stemmed from, is it the 14th or 15th Amendment? That says, it's such a weird amendment. I don't know if anyone argues about this, but I kind of feel like we should get rid of it. It says that if you are born on the soil of America, you are an American citizen. And I think it was historically made, like they created this amendment to give slaves citizenship in America.
It's illegal.
Because
it's racist. You got to get rid of it now.
We don't have slaves anymore.
Exactly.
So when you were a slave, you were property, And then when you gave birth to your children, that amendment, I don't know if it's like 14th or 15th, somewhere around there, it gave them citizenship. But now that we don't have that, we are one of the few countries, I think there might only be like 2 countries in the world who do this. If I go to New Zealand, if I go to any country in the world except like the 2 other ones, and I have a child on that soil, no other country is like, your child is now a citizen of that country.
Yeah,
so I always feel like it's a weird law that America has. Maybe there's a really good reason for it still, but it seems like all other Western countries, all other countries in the world don't really follow that. So
yeah, people just abuse it.
Yeah,
they try to get their kid dual citizenship by just flying over here at the last second.
I've had conversation with Pi Jerza, and he was like, yeah, there's a lot of Asians that come from China, and they literally come over pregnant. They give birth in California or somewhere on the West Coast just so that they can, there's probably a name for it. But, you know, it's very popular not just with people coming over the borders, but people flying into our country. And if this is a real problem for America, I don't know that it is, but if it is, it seems like that's an amendment that just doesn't really make sense anymore in our society. Maybe people would argue that if you abolish that is undermining an amendment that was really important to slaves in our history. I don't know. It feels like our law should be a little more fluid than that, but, you know, amendments are near impossible to abolish. It takes such a crazy act in Congress to get rid of them, so I don't know that will ever go away, but it's always been, and I'm not super educated on it, so it's not like I have a strong opinion, but I've always thought that's a strange one. I wonder if DACA is related to that at all, or if they're totally separate things.
Doesn't seem related to me, because if they were born here, then they'd be a citizen. Abel says, have we addressed Patrick's low-cut top? Guess he's trying to compensate for wearing pants.
I wore jeans today for you guys.
Yeah, why are you showing your tits?
It feels like I feel free. Should I just button the top one?
Yeah, I had to go home because I got to...
You weren't going to take it off.
I'm not. Because I'm standing up for what was right. I'm not taking it off. Tammy said we could wear whatever mask.
No, she did not. She said it had to be plain. You can't bring politics into the building.
Bro, I'm not bringing politics in. This is what I'm standing for. Like, how is this considered politics?
How is it not, Denzel?
I'm not taking it off.
Okay, well then there's nothing I can do for you. I'm just doing my job.
I'm doing mine too. You know, I'm standing up for my peoples too.
You don't get it.
You don't either.
No, I do get it.
No, you don't. Because if you did, this wouldn't be a problem.
It's not that it's a problem with me, Denzel. It's a company thing.
Man, I ain't trying to hear that.
You let somebody wear something that said something about white people on it?
Bro, if that's what they stand for, yes.
I'm not against for what you stand for either, but I have to do what the company says.
So, rest in peace, Taco Bell was all over the Twitters today.
Oh my gosh.
And everyone is like...
Gotta cancel Taco Bell now.
Gotta cancel Taco Bell.
So stupid.
I don't know. Like, it's... I feel like you shouldn't wear... I mean, you couldn't wear a White Lives... You couldn't wear anything. You couldn't wear your favorite band.
No, you couldn't wear pro-choice and my body, my choice. You couldn't wear any of that.
Now, I didn't capture it, but there was another tweet going out today that did show a nurse who was wearing like a blue American flag that represents Blue Lives Matters. And there was a nurse who was wearing a mask in her hospital. And people were just making the argument that, like, should she have been fired too? Because what she's doing is very similar to what the guy at Taco Bell was doing.
I think that just has to do with the individual employer.
The company.
Yeah. Like, what are their individual...
freedoms and, like, dress codes.
Dress codes. Yeah, it just comes down to that. But I think something similar like this happened to Starbucks, maybe. And Starbucks says,
did have something like this.
Like, you can't wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. We have rules that you can't wear statements on your clothing or whatever. And the girl made a video or something and put it on YouTube, and then now everybody's like, cancel Starbucks. And I think Starbucks changed their mind and said, okay, you can put it on your shirt. So
it's just weird. It reminds me kind of the protocol for the cops. It's like, if you have a dress code, none of us are like activists of all sorts. You know, if you're super, pro-abortion, like, you're not wearing stuff at work that goes against the dress code. Like, I don't.
That's what I feel too.
I mean, like, we haven't really taken the stance at F-stoppers, but what if we were like, you can't write political articles. I think there's a lot of people that would like us to say that. We get so many comments that are like, oh my gosh, I came to read about photography. And our stories are always, we try to make it to where you can write whatever you want, but it should be based in photography, you know, to some element. The idea of slave and master on flashes is still a photography conversation. It's ridiculous, I think, and it is political and it is PC culture and all this sort of stuff. But it's a conversation that people are having. But if we said you can't write about any of that stuff, that is our decision to do as the business owners.
Yeah.
And you could say,
I'll start my own taco company, and it'll be called Black Lives Matter, and everybody
Denzel's
can wear
Tacos.
that. Now you've taken it too far, Patrick.
What? I can't name the company after?
No, you can't. Photog Mike says, is Taco Bell keto? If not, cancel it. I'm sure it's not keto. I'm not even sure it's real meat.
Is Yokiro Taco Bell? Is that racist?
Absolutely.
With the little chihuahua?
You can't do that anymore. All right, guys. Once again, email your favorite clips to fstopperslive@gmail.com. Yeah.
Abrupt ending.
I'm so tired.
You gotta work on that mask. Better prototype tomorrow.
Okay, I'll work on it.